walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future. This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one. It has refinements, technological advances, and a more sophisticated approach.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness.
Understood. Let's amplify the drama.
To the destruction of human freedom. But like every one of the superstates that preceded it, logic is an enemy.
Well, are these Marxists motivated by love or hatred? Is it love or hatred that produces 100 million dead people? Is that enough evidence or not?
And truth is a menace.
So the most important reason is there simply are no reasons for the existence of a God, of a God, of a God.
History has an interesting way of repeating itself, as if trying to warn us that although culture changes, human nature does not. That's why the past so often predicts the future. But nowadays, technological overreach, mass confusion, and the war on truth are no longer concepts from science fiction novels. It's our reality.
The guy running BlackRock is really the president of the United States.
But why? Why are we witnessing the decay of human society? Why is the world falling apart? The answer is much more important than you think. Because no matter how different our world looks now, the root of our problems has always remained the same. It really wasn't too long ago when our world held some sort of moral standard, and common sense was actually commonplace.
When you vote on the basis of rhetoric, symbolism, and instead of using your mind, it doesn't matter how smart you are unless you stop and think.
But now, more than ever, good is evil.
You were silently praying when you were approached by police officers.
And evil is good.
Drink each other's blood.
Just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes.
Logic and reason replaced by offense and hypersensitivity.
Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
Contentment and love by greed and lust.
Wife asked me for an open relationship.
She was already with somebody, wasn't she?
She had been already a year and a half before that for a year.
Goodness and mercy by wickedness and violence. Always seeking to be served and not to serve. And the root of all of this is sin. Oh great, here we go again. Another one-sided video from a Christian who doesn't get it. I too used to think this way. I was not raised Christian. I grew up in a very rebellious environment and lived life only for myself. But more on that another time. You don't want to miss how this ends. I think we can all agree that human beings are imperfect creatures. We all have selfish motives. We lie for personal gain, we slander, we make flawed decisions, and we do things to hurt one another. But don't get me wrong, human beings are very capable of many intelligent, beautiful, and wonderful things, but we still fall short. As history has shown us, when most people are given too much power, who do not have our best interests in mind, all of those flaws are greatly magnified, and millions have suffered because of the consequences of their sin. In our current generation, there is a different group of people in power, just with a different appearance, modern tactics, and endless sources of money, but the same agenda nonetheless. In their eyes, they are gods. But in order to maintain this level of control, it must be done in secret.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
And in their world, God cannot exist. More specifically, Christianity cannot exist.
And the first of these is that religion ought to be abolished entirely, stricken from the face of the earth, whatever its form.
Contrary to popular belief, if Christianity does exist, there is a dangerous freedom that is present, a major threat to how they maintain control. Think about it. After many generations of these people in power, why would they relinquish it now? Wouldn't the smart thing for them to do is hide in the shadows and tell you that God isn't real? Or that God is whomever you make him to be? Anything except for who he really is. Deception is the ultimate goal. Who then is the ultimate deceiver? Who then is their master? Who desires to be godlike and eliminate Christianity far more than they do? The true enemy, Satan. The world and the ones pulling the strings of deception are all under the influence of Satan. They don't even hide it anymore.
There is a reason why you see people dressed up as Satan. Full-on visuals of Satan, people dressed as Satan, dressed as a demon, got upside-down crosses all on their clothes or pentagrams on their clothes. People think that this stuff is just a game. No, there's a reason why the entertainment industry is doing that, y'all.
And after years and generations of consuming this kind of content, it changes our foundations. Hence why many who say they believe in some sort of higher power say things like, I have my own relationship with God, and I don't need to go to church or read the Bible. I consider myself to be spiritual. You are spiritual, all right, but you were created to worship. For everyone worships something. You either worship yourself, or someone, or something. Frankly, Satan will do everything he can to deceive you. That's the point of deception. You aren't even aware you are being deceived. This is nothing new. Satan even deceived some of the angels and foolishly tried to take God's throne and glory for himself. And for it, he was cast out of heaven. That is why many who lust for power and bathe in their pride fall in the same way he did. If not in this life, then they will in the next. To Satan, a godless life is a trifold victory. Satan gains a stronghold in our lives, our flesh is constantly fulfilled but never satisfied, and the Lord is grieved because of our sin which separate us from him. This vicious cycle of the enemy's influence has ravaged our society for thousands of years. It is exactly why the world is falling apart. It is why some of us live in a state of hopelessness and fear. So what hope do we have? Since our true enemy is spiritual, whom we cannot see, who does not sleep, and feeds on our very weaknesses, how are we supposed to oppose such a force? Well, we can't. Imagine using a thin, single piece of paper to defend yourself against, let's say, a 12-gauge shotgun. Impossible, right? So why would you use your flesh to fight against spiritual beings? That is even more difficult. We must fight spiritual with spiritual. We must bring not just a gun to a gunfight, but rather a nuke. And to the enemy, that nuke is deep and sincere prayer to God himself. Jesus Christ. Satan has no power against God, and it is the power of God that gives us strength. This is not some power we can just conjure up on our own. If we could, we would have no need for him. But God shows us every day just how desperately we do need him, not only to fight against the enemy, but so that he can give us joy, freedom, purpose, and hope. A hope not bound to earth, but an eternal one. All the wickedness we see on this earth, Jesus already knew would happen. All the sin and evil things we have done, he knew we would commit. He knew no one could ever be perfect and live up to God's standard, even if we tried. So Jesus suffered greatly and died the death that we deserved. He took the punishment of all of our sin upon the cross and resurrected from the dead, defeating death and sin's grip on our lives, rendering Satan powerless against those of the household of God. Satan will stop at nothing to make sure you do not know this, to distract you or place doubt in your heart. Because if every living soul on this earth realized the true power of salvation and prayer, the whole world would repent and run to the Lord with all their heart. The world and all its problems, its evil, and its sin would fade away. All suffering and sickness would cease, and God would wipe every tear away from our eyes. The world would no longer fall apart, but it would be reborn. What if I told you that in the future, that is exactly what will happen? What will happen?